Nancy Pelosi.
We have the most beautiful state and one of the most beautiful places in the world, and people are leaving.
I'm gonna catch you when all the cameras aren't around, and I'm gonna you up. I'm tired.
He's the chairman of the San Francisco GOP, and he's running against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Step back, everyone.
I'm John Dennis. I'm running against Nancy Pelosi.
We have the most beautiful state and one of the most beautiful places in the world, and people are leaving.
I'm gonna catch you when all the cameras aren't around, and I'm gonna you up. I'm tired.
He's the chairman of the San Francisco GOP, and he's running against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Step back, everyone.
San Francisco. While we're waiting for people to come in, just want to tell you, I got a buddy of mine who's a writer and a show creator. He's actually done feature films too. He directed them. He wrote and produced one, but he's done some really high-profile shows. I don't want to say which ones because then you can probably figure it out. But in any event, I asked him for a recommendation of a show that he would like. Because, you know, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but I go look at these streaming services. If I'm tired, I just want to watch. I don't want to read. And so I look at these streaming services and I'm like, I don't know. You know, what's good, what isn't? You hear little things like there's no-brainers like The Queen's Gambit, which was fantastic, and an easy call. And yeah, I have some other shows I like Peaky Blinders. I can't wait for that to come back on. Ozark. But anyway, so I asked him for some recommendations, and he gave me 3, and I'm on the first one, which is a Hulu show called Dave. And at first I was like, I don't know. I mean, can I handle another? I mean, I love Larry David, and but I'm like, and you know, I'm really up for another sort of like Sophie Portnoy child, you know, offspring kind of thing. But I gotta tell you, this show I watched the 3rd episode. I'm still thinking about laughing. And of course, I'll never do a spoiler alert, but I will tell you that episode 3, the way it ends, it's one of the funniest endings of a show I've ever seen. It is hysterical. So if you get a chance, check out Dave on Hulu. Okay, come on in. We have plenty to cover. I just wanted to let you know that I drove by Nancy Pelosi's house again this morning. And just so you know, this is a regular routine. I've been doing this for years, so I'm just kind of updating you. And listen, you notice things. We don't live far from one another. And again, I happen to notice that the police are parked outside of her house. Now, she had that incident. We talked about this yesterday. She had that incident where people came in, they sprayed graffiti on her garage door, and it was, yeah. I mean, it was just not a cool thing. I'm not a big fan of that. You know, harassing people in their houses. So she has the SFPD outside of her house, and as long as it doesn't go on forever, I don't have a real beef about it. It has been a while now, and oh, thanks, Stevie, yeah, I mean, so it's been a while. It's probably over a month since that happened, and the police are still there protecting her private property, her real property, every day when she's not in town. And then when she's in town, you go by the house, and there are there's Secret Service protection. Let's just put it that way. So in the meantime, there was an article yesterday or a couple days ago in the San Francisco Chronicle about a guy from Kansas who moved to San Francisco, got a great tech job after college, came here, was living in Russian Hill, paying a lot of money for rent, and just left because he's moving to Kansas because he's like, I can do my tech job there, and he's moving to Dallas. I can do my tech job there, although today's not a great day to be in Dallas, I don't have to spend all this money here. And not only that, but it's really unsafe in San Francisco. And for his trouble, for participating in this article in the San Francisco Chronicle, he got attacked by a police commissioner for basically being like a wimp, And I don't know. Instead of taking your job more seriously and listening to people who are saying, we're leaving the city. We've had 90,000 people move out of the city. That's over 10% of San Francisco's population. Instead of listening to the people who are leaving, telling you it's unsafe and too expensive and scary, the police commissioner is mocking people who are leaving. This is how I should pull this chart up. I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can find it real quick. No, it's on my phone, actually. Most cities are run by Democrats, and most cities are disasters. I mean, terrible, really poorly run. And now the federal government's run by the Democrats. So how do you think this is going to go? They just keep, driving things in the ground, and then when you challenge them on their poor performance, they call you things like racist, which is exactly what this guy did, this police commissioner. He did, and then when people attacked him for it, he went back and attacked the San Francisco Chronicle for actually another guy who he was in cahoots with came back and attacked the San Francisco Chronicle for pointing out that a white person had to leave San Francisco. Anyway, so moving back to Pelosi, so here she is, she's protected 24/7. What is her connection to reality at this point, to the reality of everyday San Franciscans? Yeah, are we showing this, Mario?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was actually, the one that was out yesterday. There was a different car out there today. She's completely disconnected from it. And I just got to say, the people around her, I guess the Democrats are kind of letting her know because her margins of victory to hold the leadership position in the House have gotten thinner over the years, but she's still the leader. And she's still disconnected, and she's still going after Trump, and and still attacking him. She still wants to open an investigation. So one of my tweets the other day was Nancy Pelosi said that she wants to do a 9/11 style investigation into what happened on January 6th. And I think, listen, if we're going to do the next 9/11 type commission that we should be on why we're seeing failures in Democrat-run cities. Let's have a 9/11 commission type investigation into how San Francisco devolved into a situation where we have thousands, and they say there's like 8,000. It's way more than that. We have probably 20,000 people sleeping on the streets now. We've last year, overdoses, mostly fentanyl, rose over 70% in 1 year. Doesn't that warrant some sort of an investigation? So anyway, so there's that. So moving on, it's actually kind of a slow day, but news day. But something caught my eye this morning, and it's interesting because it looks like it was a People magazine interview with Jill and Joe Biden. Can you pull that video up? Yeah, there was an interview here. This is on you can see this on my Twitter account. By the way, thanks for joining us. And just want to make the plugs again. Real John Dennis on Twitter. Then also John Dennis Report on YouTube. John Dennis for Congress on Facebook. And I think that's it. We'll probably get into some more platforms. But in any event, our speeds are just okay right now. We can play it, Mario. If you see this video, I can do it. I'll do it. Like, I don't know. Oh, here we go. Look at this. So this video is edited, right? But look at Joe Biden's face. And look at her. She's looking at him. And again, it's edited, but look how she's monitoring him and making sure that he's okay. Notice he's not looking at her and making sure that she's okay. Look at him just looking. I mean, constantly monitoring. Anyway, all right. So you get the idea here. This is the president of the United States, and he's in a. I don't know, man. He's in a bad place, and people are in denial about this. I mean, I wonder why the Democrats settled on him. Because if they were going to do what they did, and I have my quote. Let me just put it out there. I'm not going to make any accusations. I don't buy the outcome of this election. I think there was something funny happened. I can't tell you exactly what it was. Someday we'll find out. But why did they choose? If they had it rigged if they had they felt that they had an inside track to defeat Donald Trump, why did they go with him? Because now he's got to lead the country, and people are going to be like, oh, because we wanted Kamala Harris. But listen, I mean, they're all being directed by something else above them. But why did they choose this guy who's just so out of it? It's so evident. And it's going to end up with egg on their faces. It's going to end up with egg on the Democrats' faces. We're going to end up with egg on the mainstream media's faces. I don't get it. I don't know why they did that. But I have to say it's really disturbing to watch, and I suspect that it's going to escalate over the next couple of weeks. I mean, in months. These drugs that these people, the folks who are in this condition take, they start losing their efficacy. And what's interesting now is that there were reports today that Kamala Harris is making phone calls, not just taking phone calls, but actually making outbound phone calls to world leaders. The vice president is the one not calling the vice presidents or the second in charge in other countries, but calling the heads of state in foreign countries. And she talked to Canada, she talked to Trudeau, she talked to Macron in France. What is that telling us? What are we hearing here? I know people are saying that somebody posted on my Twitter account that she'll be, the president within 2 years. And the condition that Joe Biden looks like he is there. One would think that's the direction in which we're moving. Also on the Biden hunt, moving into another category here of outrage. I mean, this one is really outrageous. Mario, can you pull up the Biden and the Hunter Biden tweet that I put up? Yeah, here we go. So this Thomas Paine on Twitter posted this. Other people have been talking about it too. He's not alone. It came out in the news the other day, but I just used his tweet. But in any event, this really outrages me because I don't think people understand exactly how this works. But two things. Actually, Don Jr. said this as clearly as anybody has in a private thing that I went to here in San Francisco last year. If you want to do business with the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund, I forget the name of the big one, but this is the one that Hunter Biden was doing business with. They got a ton of money, $1 trillion+ dollars, whatever it is. And but to do business with them, you have to go and make high-level people who have got experience in investing and managing investments. They go in and they pitch them, and it takes multiple meetings. It could take years, and maybe they'll get a yes or a no. All right. So it's an arduous process, very difficult for high-level, sophisticated Wall Street investors, private equity guys, hedge funds, who've got track records of success, who know what they're doing. Sometimes they get into specific areas of industry in which they're known to have the firm's grasp on what it takes to succeed in those businesses. Okay, along comes Hunter Biden flying in on Air Force Two while Joe Biden is the vice president. And he meets with the head, with his dad, meets with the head of the Chinese Foreign Wealth Fund. Flies in. A couple of days later, the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund decides to invest $1.5 billion with Hunter Biden's firm. So there's one part of this where we have the speed in which it happened. There was just this meeting, who knows what happened over the next couple of days, but not as much that could have happened as opposed to like a team of people who came in from some hedge fund, and has been sending people for years and years to get the investment from the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund. He comes in, he flies in with his dad, and gets an investment after like a couple of days of $1.5 billion. And so people don't realize what that means. So, they get $1.5 billion. People go, oh, he didn't earn $1.5 billion. No, he didn't. But, and the way a lot of these funds work, and I haven't checked it lately, but I mean, when they first started them, the funds would take 2% of the total investment and get 20% of the upside. I think the 20% of the upside is still pretty much in play, but let's say it's 10%. And then they cut those fees down to around 1%. So that means, if we're using those rough numbers, that Hunter's hedge fund got on a $1.5 billion investment, they got a $15 million a year fee and 10% of the upside. So let's say they're up 5% in a year, and they get 10% of that. That means that the total fees that this hedge fund would get would be $22.5 million. $15 million of it guaranteed for as long as they keep the funds parked there. And what's interesting about it is that the news didn't cover it. They refused to discuss it. It was documented. It was not only on the laptop, but it was, he didn't deny it. It's known, a known thing. And Biden was never questioned about it. And when he got questioned about it by people outside of the mainstream media, he did that old angry man thing, like that sort of old senile man thing, like so you don't question, and that's not for everyone's looking. It's been looked into, and it's never been looked into. This is the reality of it, and it is completely, totally inappropriate. But here's the kicker: it got exposed last year. Actually, Peter Schweitzer wrote about it a while ago, but it really took off, and people knew about it early in 2020. It was talked about all year long leading up to the election. A time during which Hunter Biden could have dropped, the relationship. His dad wins the election November 3rd, which is over 3 months ago, and he had all this time, even just since the election, to unwind out of this position. Now, this is a position where there's finance guys can figure out the value of Hunter's ownership position in this hedge fund. It's not that complicated. And if he took a discount on it, sooner or later, he's going to find a buyer. There's so much cash floating around out there now. The world is awash with cash, especially in high finance places like that. So here's the tweet. Can you put that tweet back up? I'm sorry for the long segue into it, but people need to understand it. So Hunter still owns his position in this hedge fund. So effectively, the Chinese government is paying Hunter Biden a huge amount of money every year. And his father's the president of the United States. And we have all this conflict with China. Now, listen, I'm not going to say anything about the Chinese because, first of all, you say anything, you get knocked off social media. Right? But let me just say this. I don't care what country it is. I don't care if it's Bulgaria. The president of the United States' son is compromised, and his father knows about it. And we're putting up with this? And so, I was, Carl Bernstein, I happened to see a tweet from him. And so I just sort of put the digs in on him, but I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to keep putting this out there. But I said to Carl Bernstein, who every time Trump, they cooked up some phony Trump scandal, he'd come in and say, this is worse than Watergate. I got to tell you something, Carl. I think this is worse than Watergate. For all of you folks across the mainstream media, who have sort of, I mean, who have been, trying to kind of veer back towards normal journalism. You guys got to step up here. This is wrong. We can't have the president of the United States compromised. I mean, we know he's compromised anyway, but this just sort of confirms it, and they're putting it in our face. This is going to lead to nowhere good. They keep pushing this stuff on the American people. They're going to push back at some point. And we're seeing a situation where the president of the United States' son is in a compromised position with a foreign government openly right now. He has not sold his interest in it. They're laughing in our faces. It's outrageous that we're doing this. We should be talking about this. Retweet my tweet, please. Go back and say, why is no one talking about this? Let's make this thing trend. Get it out there, because this is crazy that we're putting up with this. We got a guy who's clearly in a compromised position. The president of the United States, he's in decline cognitively. We just saw a video of it, and what do we expect to happen? Do we expect the Chinese to get for him to be tough on the Chinese? It's hard for him to be tough on anybody right now, except maybe Trump supporters. But what about his relationship to the Chinese? And the deals and the issues that we need to overcome with them. So anyway, I just find the whole thing. I'm a little more animated than I'm even showing about it right now. I'm freaking furious about this. But there's a part of me that's like, I think something really bad happened on November 3rd. Something that changed the country, and it's really emboldened these folks. And it makes me feel like, they just feel like they can get away with anything right now. And until we fix that problem, and whatever happened in terms of the election on November 3rd, you're going to keep seeing more and more stuff like this. They're going to just run it right, and you push it in your face until you get accustomed to it, and then it is what it is. So anyway, retweet that tweet, please. Real John Dennis. Just go down my timeline. It's only a couple of tweets down from today. I've only done 4 or 5 tweets today, so you'll find it. I'd appreciate that. Mario, let's pull up that picture of the windmill. On kind of a funny note, I mean, right now, the country is mostly frozen. I sort of almost feel a little guilty. I mean, it's like a little chilly here in San Francisco, but it's pretty nice actually. I mean, it's probably 55 degrees or something like that. Yeah, it's like 55 degrees, and yeah, it's not bad. And you could see if you look at the map of the country, it's like this big V, like this huge, massive cold has come way down all the way to the south of the country, including into Texas. And Texas, of course, is invested in a lot of wind turbines, and their renewable energy provides 25% of the electricity in Texas, and they rely quite a bit on these wind turbines, and they're all frozen. And so here you have a helicopter propelled by fossil fuels spraying a fossil fuel de-icer on there to get the thing going again. I think they also have had some issues too where the gas pipes have frozen. The natural gas pipes are frozen in Texas as well. But this is, it's 25% of their electricity, and a lot of people have electric heat. So it's a real problem, and I feel terrible for people in Texas. Their electric service has been intermittent, and this is what we're going to be facing with this Green New Deal thing, and they're going to push it on us. I mean, they can do it. They can get away with it, and if they get a little compromise from some of the senators, some Republican senators, some of these folks like Mitt Romney or one of these people, they could pass this Green New Deal, and I can't even tell you what a disaster that'll be for the country. Germany has gone into Germany's in kind of a tough position because they've got this, powerful industrial, mostly high-end products, industrial economy, high cost, and industrial economies rely on energy, but they don't have any energy resources, so they've got to import them. So they're really relying on Russia, And it's one of the reasons why. Well, what's another topic? But I mean, it's one of the things that there's always this dream of running the pipe through Ukraine, having control of Ukraine, or keeping Ukraine at odds with Russia, and then running a pipe through there so that Germany has a couple of sources of energy. So anyway, Germany has moved towards a lot of these renewables, solar panels and windmills in particular, but oddly not as much on nuclear. Which is unfortunate. But in any event, since they've gone more towards their quote-unquote green energy, their energy costs have tripled in Germany per capita. Tripled. And so that's the future that they want for you with this Green New Deal. And I think that there's an appetite to move away from fossil fuels. But the best source on this, if you want to see it, in fact, he does a really good talk at Google. It's a little bit longer, but it's really, it really opens your eyes up to the issues that we're facing with energy moving forward, and why these diffuse energy sources like solar and wind are not good. The guy to listen to is Alex Epstein. In fact, I ran into him at an event. And I was like, I recognized him. I was like, who are you? I know you again. And then he told me his name. I was like, oh, yeah. And one of the things that he's really good at, in fact, I talked to him about this, and he was very impressed that I remembered this part of it. You can't think of energy just in terms of the output of, say, how clean their output is, right? How clean their exhaust is. You got to think about energy as a process. So, for example, solar. It looks clean and everything. They have to do mining. That takes an enormous amount of energy. It creates an enormous amount of damage to the local environment, and you have to keep. It's renewable, but those voltaic cells they wear out after 15 years at least, maybe if not sooner. So you got to replace them, and so that's more mining that needs to be done. So. In any event, check out Alex Epstein. His talk at Google in particular was really good, and you'll understand why Germany's costs went up when they sort of adopted a quote-unquote Green New Deal. That's our future. If the country goes towards a Green New Deal, expect all of your energy costs to go up. You're talking about $10 a gallon for gas. You're talking about, if your average electric bill is $300, talking about $1,000 a month, everything will treble. So take a look at that and understand and why you got to fight it. One of the things that he does talk about is that we've been moving from more diffuse sources of energy to more concentrated sources, and fossil fuels is much more concentrated than, say, wood, right? But now with sun and wind, it's a more diffuse source of energy, and he makes the case for the new generations of nuclear energy, but it's not his only thing. But you should check it out anyway. Alex Epstein, look him up on YouTube. So I think that's about it today. I have to tell you, we've got to figure this out here, Mario. In terms of we've got to figure out how I can look at feedback again, because it's really hard. I'm just sort of talking into the camera, and I'd love to get some. Oh, you did. Oh. Okay, good. So we'll talk afterwards. Okay, good. That's good to hear, because I can't get the feedback. But anyway, let's leave it at that. So actually, my brother used to talk about this all the time, and they still do it. You ever see CBS Sunday Morning? It's kind of a light, easy to consume news show. If you're up in the morning, and they have segments, sort of upbeat segments. Like I said, easy, middle of the road, not heavy politics. And they almost always end the show with some nature shot that they leave up for 30 seconds. So before we go into our outro today, I just want to let you know there's a reason why people live in San Francisco, why it's so expensive, why people want to live here. Weather's great. I talked about that earlier. And there are all these little things, that you don't see in other cities. I lived in New York. I lived in Chicago. I've lived in Amsterdam. Spent a ton of time in Paris, Marseille, Chicago. I lived in. But in any event, in those places, I never found little things like this. I'm out walking my dog this morning, and in the Presidio, which is a national park. It used to be an old military base, and it was a military base, I should say, for over a century. But in any event, Mario, pull up the video. Let's check this out. This was on my little walk today. Mario doesn't like frogs, but okay, get this. Turn that up. Can people hear that?
Yes.
Listen how loud they are. Just walking my dog here. I don't know where Augie is, but in any event, that's a little slice of San Francisco. Have a great day. Please follow us on Twitter, Real John Dennis, John Dennis for Congress on Facebook, and really the one that we want to push is YouTube. If you can like and subscribe there, it's John Dennis Report. And and we got a podcast now, huh? Is that right? We're going to be posting the podcast. Cool. All right. You can find us on Apple, right? Yeah, on Apple Podcast. John Dennis Report. All right, everyone. Enjoy your day, and we will see you soon. Oh, and pretty soon on Spotify, too, like within the week, right? Yeah. So anyway, enjoy your day, and thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. And we'll have some more updates with you about the campaign. I mean, the campaign is sort of, it's a ways off. The primary is in a year, but we're plugging away and getting a lot of traction. Folks have been generous recently. They've donated. If you want to check out the website, JohnDennisForCongress.com, you can do that. And we'll keep you posted on what's going on with the campaign as well. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks for joining. We'll see you Thursday.